Well, good morning. It's hard to believe that it's been almost a year since I came and did a presentation to go to Provo. At that time, we were in Durango, Colorado, and since then we have moved to Provo. Been there almost 6 months, I believe. Started back in August, and there were some things that we did not expect when we moved there. One of the things we didn't expect was the population. It is exploding. We didn't know these factors. So many people are moving to that area. Previously, from a 2020 study, there was 633,000 plus people in the Provo-Orem area, but it's even more than that now. Another unexpected thing is that there's a lot of non-Mormons moving to the community. Now, for those who don't know, Provo is Mormontown, USA. Like 93% Mormon. BYU, the university's there, but there's a change that's going on within the state. The other day I was reading an article, and I think it was like a lot of younger people are moving there, 18 to 30 from the studies they've done, and so it's a constantly growing and changing environment. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions during this presentation, feel free to ask. Yes, no, maybe, or I don't know. I'll try to do my best. But anyway, these were some things that we did not know when we started going around and raising support last year. Another one was that there were Christians living in the area, and we did not know that there were so many people traveling. Like a little bit later, you'll see the Stockdale family. They go 65 miles one way every Sunday to worship. And they had 2 little kids. And if you've had kids, that can be a rough Sunday morning. Some were not worshiping at all, but now they have recommitted themselves to Christ, and they're very active within the congregation. And then Timothy, he's not here today. He's actually going to be preaching in probably about 10 minutes or so. He's my oldest son. He's 18 years old. And, well, he was asked to start teaching a youth group. There's a congregation up north of us in the Salt Lake area, and they have like small groups on Sunday evening. And he was invited to come one Sunday evening, and they said, hey, can you teach the class? And he's been doing that for almost 6 months now, and he has a class tonight. So these were opportunities that just opened up to us, and we are thankful for that. Also, one of the things I did not expect, I didn't put it up there, I didn't expect it to take me 2 months to get internet in my office. I'm hoping Tuesday that I'm going to have internet, but anyway. Now, the beginning, in other words, when I was here in February of 2023, make sure we're in 2024, by the way, Scott. Let you know. You were throwing me off earlier by your dating process there. Well, when I was there before, we didn't have a place to worship. Well, we worship in as the newsletter back there shows you, a conference room, Holiday Inn Express there. We also have a place to baptize people, too. Our apartment has a jacuzzi, so it's warm year-round. But also, Brother Tim Stockdale has a jacuzzi at his house. And so we've got those accommodations. Also, these are things that you do at the beginning. You file nonprofit status, federal tax ID number. We are an entity in Utah, but it took some time. We've several tries, and it wasn't the third time's the charm. It was more than that. Sort of like getting internet. Anyway, of course, we had to have a bank account, P.O. box, things like that. That's all established since the last time I saw you. Launched a website, Facebook. Also, I just found out today we have an Instagram account. So if you remember the last presentation, I know people who know people. I don't do the media kind of stuff, but I know it is a great asset to the Lord's work. That's just the world we live in today. No longer have flip phones. Established contacts. we, from the very start, over a year ago, I go to places and before I'd ask for support financially, I'd say, would you pray for the work? You know, Colossians 4, verses 2 and following. Pray for a door for the word and the boldness to speak as we ought to speak. And those prayers have been answered tenfold. I think the reason why things are the way they are today is because of those prayers that brethren like you and throughout our travels have been praying. Also, home Bible studies, personal Bible studies, and internet Bible studies we are involved in. I'm going to be, I'll show some more of those in depth a little later, but those are all the things that started at the beginning here since we got there in August. Now here we got Meet the Congregation. That was probably November. As you can see, that's it seats about 40 people. And when we have visitors, we get kind of crowded in there. And so we're looking at, we might need something bigger here if we continue to get more and more brethren there and others that we're studying with. Now, we got some photos up there. Andy Wheeler, I talked about him last time. He's in the center there with his son, Luke. He has the glasses. Luke, dark hair. He's highly autistic, that is Luke, and but he comes to services and just a kind soul. Now, Andy was our first contact. I mentioned him last year, and he has been an asset. He's actually preached while he was gone and did an excellent job. But he does the website, and he's working right now with some YouTube stuff. I don't want to get into those details because that's not my pay grade. I'm not qualified to do that. But I guess you can live stream YouTube from a phone, and we are looking at that, and maybe some, I guess the church can get his own YouTube channel. So also there's Kevin and Amy Cruz. Kevin's right to the right, that older gentleman there, you know, just a little bit older than me. You know, we're really close in age, but he's a pilot. He lives in Oregon, or their home is in Oregon, and he doesn't make it there a lot, but he is a part of a study that we have. His wife, she looks like she's got some red hair there. To the right? To the left. Oh, to the left. Well, I'm looking, she's to the right. It is? I thought. It looks like right to me.
You were in the Air Force.
Yeah, but right is right, left is left.
Right of Kevin, or are you saying to the right?
Right of Kevin, isn't that the right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
They're on the left.
Tough crowd.
Wow. I just think I'll go up here and point to people from here on out. Well, I thought the laser pointers don't work on TV monitors. Yeah. So anyway, we're back to Amy Cruz. She's a flight attendant, and she lives right beside our where we worship. And she's been there a little over a year, and she does the Facebook stuff. And I guess she's the one that did the Instagram, but she's constantly monitoring that and giving us advice on how to maybe spread that. She deals with the Google stuff, like when you search Provo Church of Christ, that comes up. She made sure that we're up there and running and making adjustments, like when we change our times of service. She's on it. And the Stockdale family, that's the one. It's the young couple up there with the kids, okay? Y'all figure that one out. I'm not going to get into directions right now. But Tim, he's a speech pathologist. That's his. He's a doctor in that. He's also he's preached while I was gone, and he was one that was traveling, 65 miles one way, and he had been praying for work. He lives there in Provo. That maybe have a church plant there. and he didn't know us or know that we were coming. So they believed we were an answer to prayer. But a sister who knew us one Sunday said, "Hey, Tim, I hate to tell you this because we don't want to lose you, but there's a congregation worshiping there in Provo." So he is actually teaching our Bible class. We just started this year, our kids' Bible class. And then Lindsay's his wife. She is a librarian, a part-time librarian. And then May, the little girl there, she's almost 9, and Luke is 6. So a really nice family. Now we have the Fawcett family. Foss family. There's the older gentleman, the guy with the gray beard, okay, up there. Russ, he actually was an elder. He's 78. He came from up north. There was a congregation he was at, and there were some things that were starting to happen, and they realized that's just the beginning. And so they were checking out different congregations, but they came and worshiped a couple Sundays with us, and they say, "Hey, can we be a part of the work?" His wife, Myra, beside him, and then the mother, she's in her 90s, but you wouldn't know it. She's as sharp as could be. She doesn't look like 96, and then the son, her son on the next to her, the other side. There you go. I've lost his name, but Ray. We have 2 Rays. He's has Parkinson's, but they travel a little over 30 minutes on Sunday morning to get there. But they have come down. I like his spirit. He's been around quite some time, been in different congregations. But one of the first things he said to me is like, there's a lot of things we can disagree on, but we still be in fellowship with one another. And I so appreciate that kind of attitude. And then we have Sierra. She's the young lady with the dark hair. Underneath Isaiah, that's the young man with the fedora. So you didn't have to use any directions in that. Well, she's a graduate from Freed-Hardeman. Maybe you've heard of that place out in Tennessee. And she's been around in Utah about a year now, early 20s. And she was living in like 5 minutes from our house. But she'd drive all the way to Kaysville, 65 miles. And she found out about us. And then we have Canaan and Sophie. They, about 5 minutes from us, they were driving all the way up to Kaysville. And he is an awesome song leader. Oh, I am not anything in the category of a song leader, but, oh, wow. He led song last Sunday, and it was awesome. So Sophie is going to something, what do you call it? I-College. I know there's a professional name for that, but so she is like, I think, 4 more years of school. She's originally from England. He's from Philippines, at least his parents were, and they met in Nevada. And then there's Paul and Tiffany. They are not up there. They recently moved from California. They live in Heber City. That's basically about 52 minutes from where we are, but we're the closest congregation. He is a treasurer out there, and they go back and forth. He says he's retired, but he still has some kind of connection with the business out there. But they have recently started to worship with us. And then, let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention, up top, I mentioned them last time, up top, that my father-in-law and mother-in-law, they're up there, top, next to the redheaded, that's Timothy. Ray is, he does Bible studies, and he's kind of the treasurer for now until we can hand that over to someone else. And then Timothy, he leads songs, but he's also preaching this morning there. And then Isaiah also. Isaiah's done a Bible study or a lesson with a teen group. That was kind of one of those unexpected things. He did that at, I think it was in December, right before we went back east. So now I got to go forward a little bit. I am very proficient with these electronics. Now, the Bible studies, on Thursdays, we're at 4:30, we do a Bible study in Revelation. Andy requested, but also Kevin got involved, and we've had others. So that's one of the Bible studies that we're helping in the role of evangelists, helping mature the body of Christ. And that's Tuesdays. The Busaiths? I always mispronounce that. That's that family there. Caitlin's the mother. We're studying on Thursdays around 3. Amy and I, we're going through Ecclesiastes, but she wants us to study, I guess, false teaching. She asked about that. She came out of Mormonism, and then she got involved in a cult. At least that's her terminology. And she was just wanting to know what she could do not to be fooled. And so we're just going to start in Matthew and see what Jesus says about those things. But we have one more study in Ecclesiastes next week, Lord willing. Now, our son, Caleb, he's the young man by the little girl there. We're studying in the Gospel of Mark. We just switched it to Wednesdays at 11, and he's having a struggle. The father, he has left them, and he's got some anger issues and stuff. So that's a study we've been doing for some time now. Brett, he's the blurry guy over there. He is. We study about every other Wednesday, and he was on a Mormon mission trip years ago, probably 8+ years, and when he was on it, he just said he just couldn't do that anymore. He just didn't feel right. What he was saying, he didn't believe. And so he grew up in a Mormon family. Most of his siblings were Mormon, but they have also are not faithful to that religion. But his struggle is that of whether God exists. He believes in a creator, a designer, and he loves the teachings of Jesus. It blew my mind when we started first talking, and I said, "You actually believe the teachings of Jesus?" "Oh yeah, they're just great." I said, Jesus claimed to be the Son of God. He claimed to be deity, and the Jews were going to stone him because he made himself out to be God. That's what it says in the Gospel of John. And so our very first Bible study, I said, if Jesus is not deity, he's a liar. It doesn't matter how good his teachings are. And man, and this guy is very intelligent, but he does a lot of reading, historical documents. He'd read about the Assyrians. He'd read about the Babylonians, but it always would have Hebrews, this group of people called Hebrews in it. And so he has a lot of beliefs, but I think what's happened is what he's seen in society, or the religious world's view of God, or what the religious world has portrayed God is, that's, I think, what he's struggling with. And so he is got a homework assignment. Did you have a question?
Yeah, well, no, just a comment. It's so rewarding, and I don't know what the right word is, joyful, when you find somebody who can see that the truth has a resonance and it rings like a bell, and the lies fall flat. And an honest heart can tell the difference.
I like how you said that, an honest heart. And that's what I see in Brett. I see in others like Caitlin.
God bless him.
Yeah, Caitlin has paid a big price for her decision to follow Christ. And so, Brett is one of those, but he's very thorough. He wants proof. And so there's a book that came out years ago. It was a debate. Maybe you know the guy, Thomas Warren. And there was a debate, and he published a book, The Existence of God. He was debating, I can't remember the guy's name, so I handed him the book, and I said, I want that back, but I want you to read that because that brother, he had a very analytical mind, and the way he presented things, and I thought it was a perfect fit for him. Now, Melissa, we've never met Melissa, but we're trying to get a Bible study with her. What happened was we have these QR codes that we put on one's on the back of our car out there, and whatever you do with your phones, I'm speaking out of a lack of knowledge with this stuff, but evidently you get these phones and you push it and it'll bring you information. Well, she saw it. She was delivering things at our apartment complex, and I posted all these flyers about wanting a Bible study, and most of them got torn down. And then I went back and replaced them, and then most of them got torn down. I thought they were all torn down. I was like, well, I got to put some more up. But she said, I saw that, and so before we went to Nashville to raise support, she called me. We arranged a time, and we haven't been able to do that. There's been weather. She's a delivery driver, and she's got to deliver our package. So it didn't matter if she had a Bible study at 4 or 3:30, whatever it was. But and so we were supposed to have one before we came here, and her vehicle broke down, her van. That's her livelihood. And I said, that's all right. She said, oh, you probably think I'm just making excuses. I said, no, that's all right. We'll try again next week. We'll see what happens. But pray for Melissa. She seems to be searching. She just said when she responded, she just wants to know all about the Bible. And what do we teach? Do we have some kind of creed book or something like that? No, it's just the Bible. I said, okay. So she is someone we're looking forward to meeting. And Lord willing, Wednesday at 4:30 this week we're going to do that. Now, there are other online studies. My father-in-law, Ray, he does a Thursday night Zoom study in Luke, and he had somewhere around 15 to 20. I don't remember the last number. And so that's something that he is doing at this time. And then Duncan and Justice is Duncan was someone that was converted in Durango, Colorado a couple years ago, right after the COVID, about a year or so after COVID. He's going to be 22 in April, but he just walked in, no family, just, he's like 19 or something. Well, he obeyed the gospel, and I'd study with him, when during his break at lunch, Tuesdays and Thursdays, but Durango's kind of an expensive place, and so they had moved down to New Mexico, Aztec, and so we do maybe Discord. It's kind of like a Zoom type thing. We do a Bible study, and now we're studying on Sundays at 1, and we just finished 1 Peter, and next Sunday, Lord willing, we'll start 2 Peter. And so he is a young man that just can't get enough of a Bible study. And I actually invited him to come to Provo, but maybe in the future. I'm looking for workers always. Now, Justice, she hasn't obeyed the gospel yet, so please pray for her. But she is a wonderful young lady, and they got married last May, and we're continuing those Bible studies. Now, there's some other works going on. I mentioned this last time. I think I talked about supporting the works of the Lord in Utah. Our first purpose was converting people to Christ. Our second purpose was maturing people into Christ. And the third one was supporting the works of Christ. And what we meant by that, one of the things is in Delta, Utah, they don't have a preacher. They're a small group of people. And if you've ever been to Delta, Utah, you know there's nothing there. There's a McDonald's. And when you walk in on a Sunday morning, they will come over to you because they have nobody to visit with them on Sunday mornings. But there's a small group of brethren there. And when I was in Price before, I used to send men over there. Well, we don't have as many men as we used to. There's not as many preachers in the pulpit. So we've got it started again. We've got one guy going over on Sunday morning. Tony Pirtle's doing that this morning, and we'll have one going next month. Brother Dan both of them are from the Logan area, but it's encouraging for them. They usually have worship. They're watching a video. That's just the way it is in that situation. But it meant so much to Brother Jeff Hosteller when I called and said, "Hey, we're coming back to Utah." I said, "Yeah, I heard." And I said, "And we're going to resurrect the preaching over there." And he almost was in tears. And so that's one of the ways in which we want to help the brethren there. We have less than 800 Christians in the whole state. The spiritual retreat, that's something I talked about. That's coming up this April. When I was in Price, Utah, I used to coordinate that, but Brother David Malley's doing that now. We're doing 1 Peter. That's our theme this year, or our text. And so I'll be going down on a Saturday and doing a lesson, and my father-in-law will be there on Sunday. But we have usually preachers from the state, but we've had to kind of pull from Wyoming since we don't have as many preachers to fill all the slots. But it's a time to get together and hear a message from God's Word, to be encouraged, but also we share one another's faith, our stories, the things that we're struggling with, and it helps encourage us and get us through those when we go back to our little congregations, our day-to-day life. Labor Day encampment was another one that I mentioned last year. I have taken over the stewardship of that. I thought that was going to be a possibility when I was here last time because of what I knew of the circumstance, but a long time ago, a missionary by the name of Bill Hearn in the 60s with some other men started that. And well, Bill Hearn crossed the Jordan some time ago, and I knew the history of that. That is another time where the congregations in Utah can come together. And I've already got a speaker. Brother Guy Orbison, he was our mentor in the internship, but he's going to do some lessons on faith. I said, we need some encouragement. Yes, bro.
He spoke here.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. We had a preacher at Steve Hill was
Oh, yeah.
for a period of time. And he invited Orbison here. I forget his first name again.
Guy.
It happened to be on Lost in the 50s weekend, if you know anything about that. We had that antique cars.
Oh, okay. Oh, he probably loved that.
It was a good weekend.
Yeah.
And it was good to meet Guy.
Yeah, well, Guy moved to Texas. He was down in Durango when we were preaching there. He moved last March. But once I got here, I said, "Hey, I need you to come and speak." This is before I got the Labor Day encampment. He said, "Oh, yes." That's the wrong thing. You need some disclosures when you tell me yes. So I went to the Labor Day encampment, and I did a lesson, and the elders at the Wasatch Church of Christ, who are kind of been running that since Bill Hearn handed over to that congregation. And I said, well, they came up to me and said that I asked if I could take it over, and they said, after a long discussion over lunch, I think it was like 15 minutes, they came back, "Sure, you can do that." And so I called him up and said, "I'm doing Labor Day encampment in 2024, and you are speaking all 8 times. I said, I gave him the text of Hebrews, and I said, we just need encouragement. We need to strengthen the faith. We're just, I don't know what happened in the 5 years I was gone from the state, but I know people passed away, people moved, and there's this thing called COVID, and it really had, I think, worn us down. And so I know he is more than able to do that. So we've got that in the works. Also, we've been visiting a lot of congregations. Yes?
Where's your encampment at? Where do you do that at?
Well, it's been a lot of places, and we usually get burned out. I don't mean like we get worn out. I mean, literally, the camps are burned out. We went there for the first time September of 2006, and it was at Black Hawk Campground outside of Payson. Well, the reason they started there that year was because the previous campground literally burned down. And shortly after we left in 2018, there was a fire. And they still haven't opened up the Black Hawk Campground. Well, they were doing it up by Logan. After COVID, the fairgrounds. And and so the guy who was running that, Eric Castle, he's a preacher there at Wasatch. He moved to Texas, and he said, "Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to reserve it at the beginning of the year." Well, beginning of the year, I went to reserve it, and it's already reserved. So we're looking. I know people who know people, and so. Well, yeah, but that's not in Utah. And according to the GPS, it's 10 hours and 45 minutes to my house. So that might be the attendance might be a little low for our brethren in Utah. Maybe a great outcome for those in Idaho. But, and so we're still working on the place. Now, we have been visiting a lot of congregations. When we first got there, it's kind of slowed down because, well, one, weather and the holidays. But we have gone to almost all of them, except like Cedar City. They only have a service on Sunday mornings, and so it's a little hard for me to get away. But they have about 5 brethren down there. And then we've been... Well, I went to Logan, but I was doing a presentation there. We haven't been to Logan, but there's like 15 congregations. We haven't been to the church plant in Salt Lake City. Weather and things have stopped us, but we've been to almost all but those, I think, 3. We go there just to say, hey, we're new in the area, but also, hey, you're not alone. We try to make contacts, trying to encourage them. When we went to Tooele, that's one of the first ones. That's about 40 miles west of Salt Lake City off of Interstate 80. There was 5 brethren there on a Wednesday night Bible study. And just to have a few more brothers and sisters come in and just, I mean, I didn't teach the class or anything, but we're just there participating and saying, hey, keep on keeping on. And that's kind of the whole point of the visiting of the congregations. And sometimes I will have opportunities to speak and help give them a word of encouragement. Now, there's some ongoing ministries. How much? I got till 10:15. Okay, well, I better get with it. In Ephesians chapter 4, we have a couple verses. It talks about what Jesus did in verse 7. He gave some gifts when he ascended. And Paul explains those gifts in the form of men in the first century church that were entrusted with the Word. That's the common denominator here. In Ephesians 4, verse 11, I have 5 minutes. He gave some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints for the work of service to the building up of the body of Christ. In other words, helping brothers and sisters engage in activities of serving one another within the body of Christ and maturing them into the likeness of Christ, or into the head, as the passage says. Now, we've kind of already started that. January 7th was our first Bible class for kids. Brother Tim Stockdale is teaching that. We have already gotten some of the men involved with the preaching and teaching. That was part of phase 2, if you remember my previous one. We're ahead of schedule, by the way. So those are going to be opportunities where the men who want to, we've got 3 at this point, that want to speak on that occasion, have that opportunity. There's other works of service. I've mentioned Facebook. Amy Cruz has been doing an outstanding job with that. Our treasurer right now is my father-in-law, but I mentioned Paul earlier. I was on the phone with him one day, and I said, he said something about being a treasurer. That was a mistake. I said, oh, good, you can take over the treasury here in the future. He kind of chuckled, but we want to hand those things over. We want, when I've done presentations in the past, I'd say, I don't want people to think, oh, that's Mark's work. It's the Lord's work, and we are all part of that work. YouTube, we're looking at getting, Brother Andy's looking at getting the church a YouTube channel where we can live stream the sermons, and others can be able to hear that. Social media, I put a question mark there where Brother Tim Stockdale and I had an opportunity to talk the other day, and I let him in on a little secret. phase 3 was teaching faithful men to teach what we've been entrusted with. I said, Tim, I'm telling you a secret. I'm looking at you. Him and Andy. Andy doesn't know that yet, so psh. I'm looking to get several of the men to continue the work. Because what happened was there used to be a congregation there. And in January of 2006, when Amy and I just started to work in Price, they were closing the doors and selling the building there. And what I want is to see the Lord's church there way after I'm gone. And so I want to establish a strong congregation, establish those who don't have to do all the work, that they share the workload of the preaching and teaching. And so Scott, very good with the electronic stuff. He's just getting a podcast, I think that's what they call it, for his business. But he has those tools. He has those skills that yours truly doesn't have. And so we were talking about that. And we're looking at maybe having, it just depends on what the congregation wants to do, but maybe having part-time focus on outreach, using his social media skills, things that I am certainly not equipped to do, but I have other redeeming qualities. We're, at this point, outgrowing the conference room. We have been looking at different places on AIM. I mentioned our date night, when I was here before, Fridays, by the way. Amy and I were out, and she says, hey, let's go look at some places. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want it to look like work. So, but she said, yeah. I said, oh, yeah, let's go do that. So we've looked at some places, but they hadn't, suited our needs at this point. But Tim's looking at maybe the mall. Hey, if we can get it right price, and they'll let me in the AM hours, we'll go for it. But it's getting kind of tight in there, especially when we have visitors, and afterwards, when, you're sitting there talking and stuff. It's like we had to kind of move out of the conference room into the hallway. So, but that's a good problem to have, isn't it? Yeah. So, but that's where we've been going. I probably have more to say. Oh, no. Yeah, thank you. It started here. Y'all was one of the first ones that committed. I had individuals that were committing, but it was first congregation, and it was very generous. The one-time contribution and also the monthly support. And if I had more time, I would go into some things that Paul said to the church at Philippi about your participation in the gospel from the first day until now, but I guess I'll save that for another time. But
Scott, I had a question.
Yes, Scott.
So did you say there were 800 plus Christians in the whole state?
That's if your Churches of Christ directory are accurate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just curious. It sounds like you stay in touch with them, or you've been outreaching pretty much all the congregations you can, and letting them know there's somebody here now in Provo, and trying to support each other and support each other.
Yes.
That's good.
Yep.
I got 2 or 3 questions.
Oh, go ahead.
So how about people moving in? You said there's quite an influx of people coming. How do they find you?
Oh, well, the Facebook, that's what I call it, by the way. That's proper terminology.
I don't know anything about that stuff either.
Yeah. But I talked about last time, there's this thing called geofencing, and through the Facebook, Marty taught us about this, but Amy Cruz's, we pay and we enlarge it to, first I think it was 50-mile radius, but then we went even further. And then we are on Google, and we have another opportunity we haven't explored yet, Herald of Truth, I think it is. They have a similar thing where this geofencing. In other words, if you Google church religious, then an ad will pop up, and whatever we put in that ad. The reason we haven't done that, I mentioned it last time, is I'm busy with Bible studies at this point, and I'm still trying to get internet.
So if I drove through and I say, well, we're going to stay the night, I wonder if there's a Church of Christ here. What would I do? Google Church of Christ, Provo,
Yep.
and would something
Boom,
come up?
we're up at the top. That's because of Amy Cruz.
You're the only one, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good deal. And is there any way that you can outreach to the Mormon people there? Are you starting to feel some people coming?
I have we actually go to Kaysville, and they're doing an evangelism workshop today at 5, if you happen to be in that area. But they are looking at possible ways of reaching that. I'm always, like that QR code, I thought if I got one person from it, that's great. Because statistically, the high percentage way people come to the Lord is through friends, family, and associates, 85%. It's some people call it friendship evangelism. It's knowing people. Now, I spent 13 years in Price, Utah, and I spent a lot of time with Mormon missionaries and stuff, and I get to a point where the higher ups would come in, and then they would move on. I'm 53. I know you're thinking, wow, man, he doesn't look a day over 39. But I don't have much time left on this earth. And I'm going to do my Bible studies with those who want to do Bible studies. It doesn't mean I'll turn one away, but I'm going to go where I can catch fish. And I'm from Kentucky. You want to go to the good fishing holes. And so I don't turn them away, but I'm going to focus on those who actually want to sit down and study God's Word. Yeah. And whatever door the Lord opens for us, you know. We have a lot of people coming in. We have a strong Hispanic community, and like in our apartment and stuff. And so, if you know of a Hispanic preacher, send him my way. And don't tell them about the whole "yes, I'll do" thing comment. Wow. But I appreciate your questions. Any others? All right. Well, it's good to be back here again. And
I have a question.
Sure.
How are you doing on your support?
Well, we need $302.24. But I'm waiting for the congregations per month for 2024. The congregations who went to Nashville, I'm waiting to get some information back from them. And so we're fine. Those one-time contributions, we held on to a lot of that because I knew this year there was going to be some situations where we were going to need it. For example, Idaho Falls, they gave us one-time contribution last year, and they were planning on doing it this year. However, some of the older brethren had passed away, and they were very good contributors, and they are struggling financially. And so I expect, you've been in the mission field, and you can get that call, hey, sorry, we can't. That's just the way it is. I'm not criticizing, it's just, so we put that away. So I'm looking for 2025. You got me all messed up on that whole thing. February 14th, we're having a Zoom meeting with the mission committee at the park. It's a Church of Christ in Tulsa. It's, I guess, big. I don't know, I've never been there, but a brother was there, got some information, and so they want to support a domestic work. And I said, guess what? We'd love for you to support our domestic work. But anyway, I might be traveling there in the near future, and so we'll just see. But I think we're fine for this. I think probably by the end of the month I'll have the rest of that. The way Woodson is, they had supported us, and Marty and Julie when they were in Moab, but they supported us for 13 years. So we have a very strong relationship, and they're still supporting the work down in Price. And they like, though, when they have two congregations that can work together in the area. And so I think we're going to be good from here on out, but we are looking for the future, 2025, because it will be here before you know it. So, any others? Awesome. If y'all have any other questions, I'll be here through potluck. So, well, thank you.